What is up, YouTubians? Cutlery here, coming at you with a triple threat video. You might actually get 4 or 5 different pieces of content in here, but let's go for it. So now's a good time to hit that subscribe button down there below. The reason why you want to be subscribed to this channel is because I'm always trying to put out a little bit of content for a lot of different people, helping people get some information to maybe make a more informed decision. So with that being said, that's always a good reason to subscribe to this channel. Let's get into the video. So let me talk about if I had bought pork belly and it was frozen, right? Like maybe I couldn't eat all of it at once, so I decided to put it in the freezer, saran wrap, vacuum sealed dry bags, whatever it was. But let's say now I want to defrost it, I want to thaw it out. So what I'll do is I'll take it out of the freezer, take it out of its packaging, and then what I'll do is I'll put it skin side down, right? First, and that basically will get the thawing process going in a pan that is not on. There's no heat, it's completely cold, right? I'm just letting this sit on the stovetop. What's happening is there's something with heat induction going on where the heat or the temperature of the pan is pulling the cold out of the frozen item to basically bring it up to the temperature of the room, like room temperature. So in my experience, usually when I do this, I'll do skin side down, right, for about 10 or 15 minutes, flip it over. Sometimes I'll use my hands, or sometimes I'll use like a silicone utensil of some kind. Like these are silicone tongs, and then basically go fat side down, right, for about like the same, like 10 or 15 minutes. Usually within about 20 minutes to a half an hour, it's pretty much ready to go. Like I can either cook it at that point, or I can blot it with like a paper towel, and then put it on a dish, cover it with saran wrap or whatever, and then put it in the fridge until I'm ready to use it. But either way, usually about 20 to 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes max, usually the pork belly is ready to go. So that to me is the best way to defrost or thaw any kind of pork belly. I use that same process if I'm trying to thaw out like a tri-tip or any kind of meat or chicken or whatever. Usually it's the best way to do it. What I do notice is occasionally, because of crystals might form in the meat, whatever it is, I might get some water down there. So I definitely want to, blot it with a paper towel, make sure I get off all the moisture, etc. Then go ahead and get ready to either cook it or put it in the fridge. And then what I'll do is completely wash the pan, because I want to make sure I'm not spreading any bacteria or whatever. Nice soapy water, soft sponge, basically clean out the pan, and then it's ready, dry it off with a towel, and then I'm ready to use it. So that's how I would prep it and thaw the item. Okay, second process. Let's talk about prepping and then cooking the actual pork belly. So you got to remember, this is basically the most natural form of bacon, right? You can see the lines. It's pretty much, whoa, that was fun. It's pretty much the most natural form of bacon I can possibly get. So there's no, hopefully, I hope there's no preservatives, there's no chemicals, there's no artificial flavors or any of that kind of stuff, right? This should just be like straight up pork belly that you would buy from either Costco or a butcher or whatever, but I buy the Costco one because I like the Costco one. But I can cook this, and then what I'll do is I'll usually cook it like without anything. And then after I take it out of the pan, what I'll do is I'll put it on like some paper towels, make sure I blot off some of the excess oil or fat or whatever. And then I'll go ahead and season it with salt, or sometimes I'll use pepper, or sometimes I might use like a seasoned spice rub, that kind of thing. Just so I can have some fun with the flavors. I can flavor it however I want to, which is another beautiful freedom that I get by buying the pork belly versus like buying prepackaged bacon. Plus, in my honest opinion, I think the pork belly is a little bit nicer because it doesn't have the nitrates and the phosphates and the things that I can't pronounce that go into this. Plus, a lot of times manufacturers will put extra sugar in there. So if you want to cut out your sugar, that's a possibility you might want to explore. So anyways, what I will do is I will slice this up, right, on a cutting board. Obviously use like a nice little cutting board with my knife. But what I could do is I could slice this way to get more of that bacon feel. I can slice it thinner or thicker depending on, the knife skills, or I can cut it this way, whatever I decide to do, whatever shape I want to do. And then when I'm actually cooking it, what I'll do is, so I've got a nice clean dry pan, right? I've washed it. I've tapped with soapy water. I've used a soft sponge. I got it all nice and clean, dried it off. So now I'm on my stovetop, right? I'll show you on this one because I don't want to get that one hot just yet. But what I'll typically do is I'll usually cook the pork belly somewhere between medium to low heat. So I want to stay in the lower end of the spectrum, because cooking it on high heat or over medium would cause it to cook too fast. It might burn. It might also damage the nonstick pan, so I don't want to do that. But what I'll do is, like, if this is the burner, right? That's high. This is medium, and that's low. And you can see the flame right there. This is the center island. But what I'll do is I'll usually cook it somewhere like around here, like medium to lowish is where I want to be. And I notice that that gives the bacon a nice, or sorry, the pork belly, a nice toasty, crunchy kind of feel to it. The flavor is amazing. It's tangy, it's chewy, it's exactly as close to bacon as you can possibly get, but in a more natural way. And then depending on how I decide to season it afterwards, whether it's just salt or salt and pepper or dry rub or whatever it is, I can kind of flavor it however I want to. But as a review, like as a review part to cooking the bacon, it's amazing. Like the Costco pork belly is great. I keep saying bacon because that's what I'm turning it into, but you get the idea. The pork belly is awesome. Usually that's how I will cook it in the pan. And then I'm always trying to use like silicone utensils. So like silicone tongs to turn it as I need to, or Matfur makes this great slotted turner, I think is what they call it. It's kind of like a fish turner, that kind of vibe. The reason why I like these products specifically for nonstick pans is because I'm not scratching the pan. I'm not bringing any of that coating off the pan, which I could potentially then eat or consume. So I don't want to scratch the pan as much as I can possibly, do that. And then here's a pancake turner, right? Silicone. If I have a lot of it and just want to flip it all at once, that kind of vibe. But typically for me, like the tongs are usually the way to go. And there are links to these products down in the description there down below if you're kind of curious. But the cooking process is pretty simple, and then the eating process is the more fun part, if you catch my drift. So just in general, let's run through the video just as a quick review. So thawing it from the freezer, thawing the pork belly from the freezer, I would put it in a non-stick pan, right? This is the OXO Good Grips. There's a link for this down in the description there down below as well. It's hard anodized, it's 3 layers of non-stick, it's comfortable to handle, you get the idea. But this was probably the more safer version according to them. They say that this is a little bit more on the safer side in terms of non-stick pans. That's why I like to use it. But what I do is defrost the pork belly, no heat, just in the pan, 10 to 15 minutes on one side, 10 to 15 minutes on the other side. Usually it's good to go. I can either cook it at that point or put it back in the fridge to keep it cold until I'm ready to use it, etc. Keep it safe and sanitary and all that kind of stuff. So then the cooking process was basically on a cutting board. I would slice up the pork belly, either slicing it this way, right? Like bacon, I can make it as thick or as thin as I want to. And then what I do is I season it after I take it out of the pan after it's cooked. And the reason for that is because I think it just comes out a little bit better that way. I can't explain it. But basically, I can cut it that way. I can cut it this way if I want to make it a little smaller, cutesy, get fancy with the shapes and the designs, that kind of stuff. So then cooking process is pretty simple. Usually it's a couple minutes on one side, couple minutes on the other side, and then do that back and forth until you get to your desired level of crispiness, kind of to explain it a little bit lightly. So then once I take it out of the pan, I will pat it dry with paper towels. And like I said, when I'm using the pan, I'm usually staying on medium-ish heat. And then the last part of this video, the review of the product, is it's delicious. It's great. There's no added anything that I don't want to put in there, because obviously it's as close to natural pork belly as I could possibly get. So there's no sugar if I don't want it. There's no salt if I don't want it. There's no artificial anything if I don't want that anyways, or either. So there you go. So basically, there's my review. Anyways, there is a subscribe button down there below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. There's also a link to some pretty cool products down there in the description section. There's a link to this pan. There's a link to these tongs. There's a link to this turner, this Matfur turner. There's a link to the pancake spatula. I've also got links to this one. This is an OXO. I think this is like the omelet turner. These come in 2 different sizes. Sometimes they come as a set too, which is kind of awesome. But if I want to turn something, flip something in that pan, that's always nice. So definitely a lot of good products down there in the description there down below. There is a link to the OXO Good Grips non-stick pan also down there below. Like I said, this was the best one that I could find that's very easy to use, very, very slippery, like things spin in here. I don't know if I could do it again, but that one time was kind of fun when it just spun around and around. Anyways, all that stuff is down there. There is a link to my Facebook page. It's Cooter Malloy Product Reviews on Facebook, so make sure to check that out. There's also the comment section. If any of you have a comment, post that down below. You never know when your comment might turn into a video of its own. So with that being said, like, follow, subscribe on Facebook, subscribe here on YouTube, and I will catch you all on the next exciting video.